The battle to use the natural connective power of whiskey to create community rather than opportunities for conflict is ever raging. That's because there's too many whiskey trolls and too many whiskey lemmings. If you want to hear about the drama they cause and how to avoid it, then stick around. So before we get too deep into it, I have to thank all the patrons out there. The reality is this podcast is not free and it costs money to produce, and patrons have pledged a monthly donation, and without that financial support, I don't think we could continue to produce the content that we are. So if you're watching this and you're not a patron, you need to thank a patron, because the reason why this is free is because of them. Now, it is time for some real talk, and I mean real talk. And that means we're going to have some disclaimers. And I have to let you know up front that some of this is going to be uncomfortable conversation. And there is going to be some talk of politics, but I won't be taking a side. And I'd like to say from the outset that if you're getting upset and you think that I'm taking a side, you need to check yourself, because it likely means that you're brainwashed and that you're already a lemming that needs help. So let's get into it. First off, some definitions. A whiskey troll. A whiskey troll is a person that's willing to say things to create drama and division in the whiskey world without regard to the truth. They do it for a sense of personal satisfaction, that they can control another person's emotions or control the vibe of a community with drama. A whiskey lemming is a little bit different. A whiskey lemming is a person who blindly accepts conspiracy theories in the whiskey world because they have a bias towards negativity that trumps their own logic. And both are almost always male. And in my opinion, evidence of low self-esteem and a bias towards being a keyboard warrior. Now, most of the stuff we talk about is going to be negative things towards this category of men, but I don't want to leave women out, because there are women in the whiskey world that cause problems, and I call them whiskey thoughts. That would be T-H-O-T. If you're not familiar with the term thought, it is a term from hip hop culture, and it stands for that hoe over there. And the definition of a thought is a woman who's using her sexuality in an aggressive way to get inappropriate attention. And women generally don't cause problems in the whiskey enthusiast community, but when they do, it's usually a woman who's posting provocative photos of herself seeking inappropriate attention. Usually there's whiskey featured in the picture, and they want to make it seem like that the whiskey is the actual focus of the picture, but anybody with common sense can look at the photo and see that the real objective is to get attention for one's sexual appeal. And I don't think that this is good for the connection in the whiskey community. I think it brings out a locker room culture in the community that makes female participation feel unsafe to women who don't think that that's appropriate. And I think it alienates normal women. So in general, I'm against it. So we're going to be talking a lot today about bad behavior in the male whiskey world, so I just didn't want to leave women out. So just keep all of that in mind. Now, let's talk about some examples of whiskey trolls and lemmings and the problems that it causes. So this may come as a surprise to you, but I am hated in our local whiskey community. Despite my personal financial sacrifice to create free content, despite my generous nature with my whiskey collection, despite my fundraiser efforts, despite my work for mental health and suicide prevention and awareness, I am hated locally by people who once considered me friends, right? People who I have had over to my house who drank my whiskey at my house for free. People that I went to their house and drank their whiskey. People that I went to lunch with on a regular basis. People I went on whiskey trips with. They hate me now. And they talk bad about me in whiskey groups. Any group that will allow it. And they talk about me in private. I have social anxiety now. Everywhere I go, I have anxiety because I don't know if the person that I'm talking to is generally interested in having a conversation, or if they're trying to identify something that I say as gossip worthy so that they can go talk bad about me to other people. Imagine walking to a room full of people, and there are a number of people in that room that know who you are, but you don't necessarily know who they are. And you know that some of those people hate you, and that some of the reason that those people are coming up to talk to you is so that they can get a little tidbit of gossip, so that they can go spread rumors about you that are not true. That has given me social anxiety. Another example of the effects of these lemmings and trolls is the politics that happens between local whiskey communities. One of the most common rumors that one club will make about another club is rumors about profiting, right? That they are making all of this money off of running the whiskey club, right? And they like to do little things with the acronyms for the club and change their name. Like the club that I started is called Someone Say Whiskey, and people call it Safe Space Whiskey. And there's another club that their acronym is PWS, and people that hate them call them Piss Water Society. It's stupid, right? Why is it stupid? Well, it's pretty easy to tell whenever somebody's profiting off of picks. And they're typically not going to be doing it if the bottles are being sold at a local retail store, because local retailers know that it's illegal to cut a check to a whiskey club unless they are licensed as a marketing company. And most of them aren't. Now, if you got somebody that's bootlegging whole barrels of whiskey into the state, and it happens to cost $10 more per bottle than it did in the state that they got it from, pretty good chance that they're making some money off of those bottles. But is it even profiting? If you do a barrel of 180 bottles and you charge an extra $10 and you generate an extra $1,800, but somebody, maybe two people, had to take 3 days off of work so that they could drive up there, and they had to rent a U-Haul, and they had to pick it up, and they had to bring it back, and all of that stuff, is there really that much profit in it? I don't know. But I do know that all of the politics and trash talk and causing all of this division that happens, it's not good for the whiskey enthusiast community. And it doesn't do anything to help bring people together. And when people make fun of other clubs for how bad their single barrel selections are, it just doesn't make any sense at all, unless you're just an idiot, okay? And here's why. Why would a whiskey brand put barrels that taste bad in their single barrel program? It is nearly impossible to pick a single barrel that is actually a bad tasting whiskey. Now, I'm not saying that all single barrels are superior to the brand, the base level product that it's based on. But what I am saying is that at the very least, there was some unique characteristic that made the brand think that it would be a good barrel to put into the barrel program, right? And so it may have a unique characteristic that doesn't appeal to your palate, but it doesn't mean that the club that picks it doesn't have the ability to pick good picks. That just doesn't make any sense. And it makes it so that there's no ability to participate in local group activities. There are tons of things that happen that whiskey enthusiasts would be excited about. There's cigar events, there's chili cook-offs, there's all kinds of things. And when you have all of these petty grudges that are going on between the different clubs, all it does is create division and separation, and that's not what whiskey is all about. And I, for one, am sick of it. And welcome to today's episode of What You Have on Your E-commerce site. I'm your host, Randy Sullivan. Let's get right to the questions. Do you have Glen toppers? Yes. Do you have t-shirts? Yes. Do you have bottle carrying bags? Yes. Do you have storage? Yes. Do you have an aroma kit? Yes. People, we have everything at bourbonrealtalk.com. This is stupid. Why do we even need a game show? And what's stupid about all of this is even in a club the size of Someone Say Whiskey that's got 15 or 16,000 whiskey lovers in it, there are only a few hundred people that even know about these petty community squabbles. And so you have these extremely vocal individuals that are talking with such certainty that it may seem true to the common observer, and they're spreading this cancer that was totally unnecessary and not commonly known to the average member of that community, and just creating separation for no reason. Another example of whiskey trolls that causing problems are people accusing me of doing a hit piece on 13th Colony to benefit my brand, the Prideful Goat. I literally had people, after I went through all of the effort to get to the source and to get the truth and to release the truth out there to the public, and to be 100% honest, if you go read the email chain, which I ended up providing unedited 100% to the public for you all to read, you'll see that in the beginning, I was really trying to clear their name. It didn't start off as a hit piece, okay? But there were people that were trying to spread rumors that the reason why I even did the piece was because I thought that it would benefit my brand, the Prideful Goat, in the future. Do you have any idea how idiotic that is? There are countless non-distiller producers out there. 13th Colony is not the thing standing in the way of the Prideful Goat. If the Prideful Goat isn't as successful as I ever imagined that it could be, it won't be because one other NDP took up all of the market share. It'd probably be because the 3-tier system caused me to have to go through processes that made it impossible for me to get the word out about my brand, but it's not gonna be because of one other brand. Another problem caused by these whiskey trolls and lemmings was all of the drama that got created in Bourbon Real Talk community, right? It ended up causing a split in the group, and other groups have started popping up as a result of drama. And then after these other groups started, this same drama popped up in the new groups because it was the same trolls and the same lemmings that are causing the same problems, and it just spreads wherever they go. And probably my favorite story to tell people about what it's like to deal with whiskey trolls is the time that I got doxed. And do you know what doxing is? It's when somebody posts your personal contact information online and encourages those who disagree with you to do harm to you, to use that information to find you and to do harm to you. And when we first launched Bourbon Real Talk community and we started talking about whiskey trolls, a troll group doxed me and put my information out. And guess what? I was not in the state of Texas. Lindsay and I were both in Kentucky on a whiskey trip. And my older teenage children were here staying at the house by themselves. And I had to spend days wondering whether or not my decision to launch this podcast for positive reasons and to create connection was going to cause some lunatic to show up at my house and hurt my children. And that's something that got caused by whiskey troll behavior. So what can you learn from this situation? No matter what your political persuasion is, it must be obvious to you at this point, not just inside the whiskey community, but in society in general, that there are powerful forces with the ability to distribute information to masses who are seeking to control the narrative for their own personal benefit on both sides of the political aisle. And I want to encourage everyone out there to develop a habit of assuming positive intent. Most of the drama, most of the rumors are created by somebody's creative mind that has a natural negative bent going out and postulating a negative theory and convincing itself that it's true, and then trying to go and convince other people to believe this same negative theory. When all we need to do is assume positive intent in others until they give us a reason not to. You need to seek to understand before you draw conclusions. And if you're dealing with these issues on a major level, you may need to seek counseling. And the reality is, most people probably could do with some counseling. I go to see a counselor once a month. There's no shame in seeking mental health, and we need to get rid of that stigma. You need to know that I do love you, and I want good things for you in your life. But you also, if you're one of those individuals that's a troll or a lemming, you need to not make the mistake of mistaking other people's kindness for weakness. There's a difference between being peaceful and being harmless. Someone can have a loving disposition toward strangers, but shift when there is a legitimate threat to themselves or those that they are responsible for. Loving others does not make you weak. As my friend Philip says, who is the opposite of weakness, kindness is gangster. I implore all of you to adopt a general disposition of love and compassion. Don't let go of your love and compassion for others until your personal obligation for preservation demands that you do so. If you do all of these things, you can love everyone without becoming a puppet for another person, are jeopardizing yourself or those that you're responsible for. If everyone did that, there would be way more discourse, way more cooperation, way less hate, way less division, and the world would be a better place. So, sorry for my soapbox, but we needed to address the troll issue. Now, we're going to give away some free whiskey. I have been fortunate enough to come in possession of all 3 of the standard offerings from E.H. Taylor. I have the small batch, the single barrel, and the barrel proof. So I'm going to give away a 1-ounce sample pack to one of you lucky viewers. And all you have to do to enter to win is like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for future notifications, and of course you have to fill out the web form that is in the video description below. I will run a randomizer and I will reach out to the winner and send you your samples absolutely for free. You no longer have to comment to enter the free giveaway. We do want to hear from you if you have something to say, but I've been struggling to keep up with the comments, so we don't need any unnecessary comments, but we do love hearing from you, the viewers. So hopefully you enjoyed this content. If you want to think about supporting this channel, I'd love for you to click in the video description below the link to our Patreon. We've got a lot of member benefits over there. And I think that if you go and you look, you're going to see that there's opportunities provided to you as a Patreon member that you won't be able to find on your own as just a regular whiskey enthusiast. And we do a lot to make sure that we create special opportunities, create special content. We give special discounts. You get early access to everything. So go check that out. Another great way to support this channel is to buy our merchandise. If you go to bourbonrealtalk.com, you will see that we have merchandise that was made for whiskey lovers by a whiskey lover. And you're going to see things there that you feel like you can't live without. And this podcast has been supported by my real estate business since its inception. If you want to show some support and you need residential real estate services in the Dallas or Houston metro areas, I'd love for you to click the link in the video description below and reach out to me about your real estate needs. If this is your first time watching the channel, I want to tell you all about our show philosophy, and that is we're all about bringing people together around bourbon. And the reason why that's something that's important to me is because I lost a loved one to suicide. And that has given me kind of a focus to try and find a way to help foster connections in an effort to create a more healthy mental health environment. And I saw how whiskey was bringing people together, and I thought maybe if I could get you connected to whiskey, whiskey will do the rest of the job and get you connected to others. But if you're going to have connection, you do need a forum. And unfortunately, as we've talked about in this video, there are a lot of negative individuals in forums online, and they show a lot of hate. And to counteract that, we created a forum for normal people who are not trolls and are not lemmings. It's called Bourbon Real Talk Community. It's on Facebook, and it is free. And I'd love for you to go check that out. Lots of great things going on, lots of connection, lots of opportunities for whiskey enthusiasts in there. But those trolls taught us a second thing, and that is if they can hate, and we can love. And that's why we end every episode the same way, and that's this. If you woke up this morning and you're unsure whether or not anyone loves you, just know that I love you. And I'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk. In the steep hills of the rockiest of mountains, under beaming sun or windy winters, a prideful goat stands tall. The whiskey offers smooth yet bold flavors to be enjoyed anywhere with anyone. So take a leap and discover the complex and beautiful sceneries of the prideful goat with us. I'm Randy Sullivan, host of Bourbon Real Talk, and I partnered with Giant Texas Distillers to create the whiskey brand, the Prideful Goat. That intro was one of the drafts for the Prideful Goat's back label, and the truth is, the name just sounded cool. There is no significance to the name, which makes the back label story difficult. We felt some of what was written was a little too fanciful for our target audience. Our goal was to create a whiskey by whiskey lovers for whiskey lovers. Cask strength, non-chill filtered, straightforward, no fluff. We're currently sold in Alaska, Arizona, California, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, and Alberta, Canada. And if you want a quality whiskey that was curated for enthusiasts, head over to www.pridefulgoat.com and use the store locator. If your local store doesn't have it, you can look on the website to see what your state wholesaler is, and your store can call them and order it. We also have some pretty awesome Prideful Goat merchandise, including etched Glencairns, t-shirts, and now a dog squeaky toy. If we're not sold in your state, don't worry. Sealbox and Bourbon Outfitter both sell our products for lower than average retail prices. With no sales tax and discounts for multiple bottle shipping, in many cases you can get the Prideful Goat delivered to your front door for less money than you would pay at a local store. We hope you enjoy our little project.